What if I told you that everything you think you know about Cleopatra is a lie? A lie so powerful it's lasted for over 2,000 years. When you hear the name Cleopatra, what comes to mind? A stunning Egyptian queen, dripping in gold, who seduced the two most powerful men in the world, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, with her legendary beauty. Her story is seen as a tragic romance, a tale of passion, betrayal, and a dramatic death by snakebite. That's the Hollywood version. It's an amazing story, but it's not the real story. The truth is, Cleopatra was a genius, a political mastermind, a brilliant economist, and a ruthless strategist who almost brought Rome to its knees. Her real power wasn't her beauty, it was her brain. In this video, we're going to tear down the Hollywood myths and rebuild the story of the real Cleopatra. We'll look at the ancient coins that show what she actually looked like, discover how she became the first pharaoh in her family to speak Egyptian, and uncover the 2,000-year-old smear campaign that turned one of history's greatest leaders into a one-dimensional cartoon. So, buckle up, because you're about to meet the real Cleopatra. Alright, so let's start with the image we all know and love, the femme fatale. From Shakespeare's plays to the silver screen, Cleopatra has been defined by one thing: her ability to make powerful men fall in love with her. Think about the iconic 1963 film with Elizabeth Taylor. She's presented as this irresistible force of nature. Her political goals, they're kind of fuzzy, always secondary to her dramatic love affairs. It's all about the romance, the tragedy, the drama. But here's the thing, that entire narrative was invented, not by Hollywood, but by her mortal enemy. Imagine this, you're a Roman general named Octavian. Your main rival, Mark Antony, has abandoned Rome, teamed up with the absurdly wealthy Queen of Egypt, and is now building a rival empire in the east. How do you convince your people to go to war against another Roman? You don't. Instead, you launch one of the most successful smear campaigns in history. You tell everyone that Antony, a good Roman boy, has been bewitched, corrupted by this wicked foreign sorceress. You paint her as a drunk, immoral, power-hungry seductress who wants to destroy Rome. You use every ounce of sexism and xenophobia you can muster to turn her into the public enemy. And it worked. Octavian won the war, became Emperor Augustus, and his propaganda became the official history. What we've been watching for centuries isn't the story of Cleopatra. It's the story Octavian wanted you to hear. It's ancient fake news. So, let's start by debunking the biggest lie of all. The first thing everyone knows about Cleopatra is that she was breathtakingly beautiful, right? The most beautiful woman in the world. Well, about that. Let's look at what the people who actually saw her had to say. The Roman historian Plutarch, who wrote one of the most detailed accounts of her life, said her beauty was not in and for itself so remarkable. Ouch. A bit harsh, Plutarch, but he quickly adds that it was her presence that was irresistible. He raves about her charisma, the charm of her conversation, and the beautiful sound of her voice. Her real weapon wasn't her face, it was her personality and her intellect. And we have more evidence. Archaeologists have found coins that were minted during her reign, with her portrait on them. This is how she wanted to be seen. What you see isn't the face of Elizabeth Taylor. It's the face of a strong, intelligent ruler with a prominent nose and a determined jawline. She looks more like a CEO than a supermodel, and her brain, now that was legendary. She was famously educated in mathematics, philosophy, and astronomy. And get this, she could speak at least 9 languages fluently, which brings us to one of the most brilliant political moves she ever made. This next part is my favorite, because it shows just how politically savvy she was. Her family, the Ptolemies, were not originally from Egypt. They were Macedonian Greeks, installed in power after the death of Alexander the Great. And for 300 years, they ruled Egypt without ever bothering to learn the language of the people they were ruling. They spoke Greek, they worshipped Greek gods, and they largely kept to themselves in the capital city of Alexandria. But Cleopatra was different. She was the first and only member of her dynasty to learn to speak Egyptian. This wasn't just a hobby, this was a masterclass in politics. By speaking their language, she could communicate directly with the powerful and ancient Egyptian priesthood. She could connect with her subjects on a level none of her ancestors ever could. She presented herself not as a foreign Greek queen, but as a true Egyptian pharaoh, a reincarnation of the goddess Isis. This simple act earned her a level of loyalty and devotion from the Egyptian people that her family had never known. She wasn't just ruling Egypt, she was Egypt. And she would need that loyalty for the fight of her life. Okay, so let's talk about Julius Caesar. The story usually goes that she seduced him to save her throne. But when you look at the facts, it was a cold, calculated move by a political genius fighting for survival. Here's the situation. Cleopatra is in her early 20s, and she's in the middle of a brutal civil war with her younger brother, who's trying to kill her and steal the throne. Just then, Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in the world, arrives in Egypt. She needs to get to him, but the city is controlled by her brother's forces. So, what does she do? She has herself rolled up in a carpet, some sources say it was a bag of bedding, and has a servant smuggle her into Caesar's private chambers. Now, was this a seduction, or was it an incredibly bold and clever way to bypass her enemies and get a private audience with the one man who could decide her fate? I'm going with option B. The alliance they formed was pure strategy. Caesar was in massive debt and needed access to Egypt's legendary wealth to pay his armies. Cleopatra needed Caesar's military might to defeat her brother and secure her crown. It was a win-win. And their son, Caesarion, he wasn't just a love child. He was a strategic asset, a living symbol of a potential union between the power of Rome and the wealth of Egypt. This wasn't just a romance, it was a merger. After Caesar was assassinated, Rome plunged back into chaos. Cleopatra's next move was even more ambitious. She allied herself with Mark Antony, Caesar's charismatic and powerful general. Together, they had a vision, not just to protect Egypt, but to create a new Eastern Empire, a rival to Rome itself. This plan reached its peak at a ceremony called the Donations of Alexandria. It was one of the most audacious political stunts in history. In the middle of the city, Antony and Cleopatra sat on golden thrones. She was dressed as the goddess Isis. Antony declared that Cleopatra was the Queen of Kings, and that Caesarion was Caesar's true son and heir, a direct challenge to Caesar's adopted son, Octavian. Then they started giving away kingdoms. They declared their own young children the rulers of vast territories like Armenia, Syria, and Crete. This wasn't just a theatrical performance. This was a formal declaration of intent. They were using Egyptian money and Antony's Roman legions to build a new world order, with Alexandria, not Rome, at its center. It was a geopolitical earthquake, and in Rome, one man was watching with absolute fury. That man was Octavian, and he knew he couldn't win a military war without first winning a PR war. Octavian was a master of propaganda. He began feeding the Roman public a constant stream of stories about Antony and Cleopatra. He painted Antony as a weak, un-Roman fool, completely emasculated by a foreign queen, and his character assassination of Cleopatra was even more vicious. He told the Senate that she was a sorceress, an incestuous monster who aimed to move the capital from Rome to Alexandria and enslave the Roman people. It was pure, unadulterated fake news. He skillfully blended sexism with xenophobia, creating a narrative of the pure masculine West versus the corrupt feminine East. He made Cleopatra the face of everything that was foreign, decadent, and dangerous. It was this narrative that allowed him to declare war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. When Octavian finally won, he didn't just take over Egypt. He cemented his version of the story into history. He had found his perfect villain, and her reputation never recovered. The femme fatale myth was born, and it's been with us ever since. So, who was Cleopatra? She was a brilliant leader who held one of the last great kingdoms of the ancient world together for over 20 years, all while the Roman wolf was at the door. She was a skilled administrator, a master diplomat, and a patriot who used every tool at her disposal, including alliances, wealth, and yes, even her own children. In a desperate high-stakes gamble to keep her country independent, she lost. In the end, Rome was too powerful. Her death marked the end of a 3,000-year line of pharaohs and the end of the Hellenistic age. But her enemy's final victory was ensuring that history would remember her not as the powerful queen she was, but as the one-dimensional caricature he created. The story of Cleopatra isn't a tragic romance. It's the story of a brilliant ruler who fought for her country and was systematically discredited by the man who defeated her. It's a powerful reminder that history is almost always written by the victors. The real Cleopatra was nothing like you think. She was so much more. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think is Cleopatra's most impressive achievement? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into history, please give this video a like. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that challenge what you think you know, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.